United Cooperative, headquartered at Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, exists to benefit its owners. Each year, member owners gather at the organization's annual meeting to receive updates on the operations of the cooperative and to vote on matters and representation for the cooperative. To follow along with financial highlights, the annual report is available for download at www.unitedcooperative.com. Howard Bowl, a producer from Beaver Dam, is chair of United Cooperative's Board of Directors and presided over the annual meeting.
Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for taking time out to attend our annual meeting. This is our 80th meeting. At this time, I would like to introduce the board. Our Vice Chairman, Gary Nolden from Prairie du Sac, Robin Craker, our Secretary from Reedsburg, Wisconsin, Dwayne Hinchley from Cambridge, Anthony Schott from Watertown, Brad Krieger from Shawano, Greg Tauken from Bonduelle, Rod Lederman from Denmark, and Peter Milsna from Hillsborough. I'd like to thank these gentlemen for all the work they've done this year. If you'd please give them a round of applause. I think every year we touch on this topic, but it takes a number of things to make this organization successful. Our manager and CEO, Dave Kramer, who drives the bus for United Co-op, as he likes to call it, are all our division and branch managers, our employees, who I think are second to none in the business, and most of all, our member owners. Without any of you, none of this would be possible. We're continuing to add new equipment and new facilities to better serve our members, and we're remodeling some of our existing facilities. Currently, we have 2 new mills going into production in Shawano and Wilton in the next several months, and we have a new fertilizer plant in Hillsborough.
But we've got some really good numbers to talk about. We'll be going through our 80th annual report. There's a letter in the front page of that. Howard referred to some of the things that have been happening on this past year, and if you read that, it'll pretty much, in a nutshell, explains a lot of the things that have been going on. But with that, we'll get into the numbers right away. We'll start with our balance sheet, which is on page 3. Total current assets for the year are $317,596,000 compared to $280 million a year before, or up about $37.5 million in assets. Quite an increase. Investments and other assets, about $100 million versus $90 million the year before. So you can see that's up about $10 million. Property and equipment, lesser depreciation. You can see our net property and equipment, $159 million depreciated value versus about $112, up about $47 million. And there was a lot of acquisitions that were made in October, acquisitions from ADM and from Ag Ventures and Grain Ventures. Total assets then come up to a total of $576,854,000 compared to $482,468,000, or an increase of about $94 million. Quite a difference from one year to the next. Our current liabilities drop to the bottom. You can see our total liabilities are $140 million versus $152 million, $153 almost, about a $12 million difference. Long-term liabilities, here's a big change there. Our long-term debt, less current mature portion, $80 million versus $28.9 million, an increase of $51 million. That is to do with the reclassification. The loans were all restructured and everything became long-term reinstatable term debt. Right now at the end of the year we had $80 million. Today we've got about $24 million borrowed is all we have borrowed at this point in time. So I guess I wouldn't be alarmed by that. So total long-term liabilities then $85 million versus $34 million at the end of the year, or about $51 million increase. Total liabilities $226 million versus $187 million, a $39 million increase from a year ago. Then we get into our patron equities. Preferred equities or our preferred stock. You can see that's growing immensely. Almost $107 million of preferred stock versus about $68 million a year ago. $39 million increase from one year to the next. As of last week, we were sitting on about $110 million of preferred stock. Equity credits, just under $100 million, and last year was just over $90 million, so that's increased by about $9 million from a year ago. And our general reserve, a nice increase there also, just under $127 million. Last year was just over $115 million. About $11 million increase in our general reserve from one year to the next. A nice improvement there. So total patron equities, $350,610,000 versus $295,218, or a $55 million increase in patron equities from one year to the next. Total liabilities and total equities then you can see is $575 million versus $482 million. So our assets and our liabilities equities balanced, so we do have a balance sheet. You can see a breakdown of our assets. The top four categories, you can see prepaids are 11.11%, investments 16.21%, inventories were 32.84%, property and equipment was 27.58%. Those top four categories equal about $506 million of the $576 million, so that's the majority of our assets are in those categories. Go across the page, our total assets, you can see the growth over the last 5 years from 2011 to 2015, $212 million of growth in assets in the last 5 years. That's substantial growth. I think everyone would agree to that. Patron equities, you can see from 2011, 133,000 to 2015, 133 million, and 350 million in 2015, or an increase of $218 million in patron equities in the last 5 years. Look at the breakdown of our liabilities and patron equities. You can see liabilities, the current liabilities in the long term equate to 39%, and our patron equities equate to 61%. So you'll have very, very good ownership. Statement of operations talks about revenues, where we spent the money, where we made the money, and how much money was left when we got done. So sales, $582 million in sales for the year versus $579 million. So you can see it's up slightly, even with the prices down on fertilizer, prices down on grain, prices down on petroleum immensely. And when we look at volumes, you'll see why those sales pretty much maintained because of increases in units. Our cost of sales, $489 million versus $487 million, 84% versus 84.19%, so basically the same. Gross margins, $90,739,000 versus $89,489,000, up about $1 million. Percentage-wise, you can see it's 15.59 versus 15.45. And obviously, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about our discounts. You can see we gave about $2.3 million worth of discounts away versus about 2.1 the year before. These are discounts that are paid for cash, net 10 days by you, our members, for services and goods that you're purchasing from us. Operating expenses. You can see the merchandising category. If you drop all the way down there, you can see it's $44 million versus $46 million. Actually down about $2 million from it was a year ago. 7.86% versus 8.01%. Total administrative expenses, you can see are about the same, $1,169,000 versus $1,227,000, about 0.2%. Our general expenses, here you'll see some changes, our depreciation amortization. When we buy properties and equipment, you can see our depreciation is going to go up. We've got some stuff that's in construction in progress. Our large feed mills, we got one that'll be opening in about 60 days, another one will be opening in about 120 days. So once those babies come online, you're going to see depreciation is going to continue to rise into the future. Insurance, you can see our insurance dropped. $1,862,000 versus $2,091,000 a year ago. We were able to negotiate some favorable insurance rates. Markets are a little flat, but I think we talked about our safety initiative that started several years ago. We're starting to see results on that, and we're starting to save some money through our safety initiatives by reduction in our overall insurance costs. So that's a good thing. Property taxes, $1,726,000 versus $1,633,000. Everybody knows how that works. When you're building property or buying property, you're going to pay more taxes. So our general expenses are $20,267,000 versus $18,816,000, or about $1 million up. Interest and other expenses, and you can see their brackets are good. That's income, So you can see you drop down to the bottom there, and you can see a $2 million worth of income. Last year we had about $2 million worth of income, so it's about equal to where it was a year ago there. Net operating expenses then would come out at $63,568,000 versus $64,457,000, or about $1 million less than they were a year ago. 10.92% compared to 11.13% of revenues. Local net margin, $27,171,000, 4.67% versus $25,030,555, or 4.32%. So you can see actually our local margins for our cooperative side of the business were up about $2 million. Then we get into income from affiliates. These are investments that we made in 3 different ethanol plants. The year before was just tremendous. I don't want to use the word obscene, but tremendous margins in the ethanol business. Last year was more realistic, 11.3 million versus 33.5 million the year before, down about $22 million, but still not bad, almost $1 million a month for those investments. Patronage refunds from our regionals, Land O'Lakes, CHS, CoBank, United Suppliers. You can see just about a little over 7 million this year. Last year was 7.4, so about equal. So you have net margin before income tax of 45,542,000 versus 65,939,000, or down about $20 million, and that's because of the income reduction from our affiliates. Less income tax, $4.2 million worth of income tax versus 8.4 a year ago. So down about $4 million in our income tax from this year to last year. So you add it all up, I should say $41,342,000, 7.10% versus $57,579,000, 574, 692, or 9.94%. So we're down about $16 million net margin from a year ago, all related to our income from affiliates. With that, our patronage rates for this year are going to be pretty decent. On the farm supply, it's 7.68%. Will be paid back. 40% of that will come back in the form of cash and 60% in stock. On our grain pool, it's 7.4 cents a bushel for every bushel that was sold to us by you, our members. Cash returned to members, pretty impressive number, 98,180,000. This year, 25,080,000. What percent of our earnings is that? Almost 61%. 60.73% of our earnings this year will be paid back to our members in cash. So that's a pretty nice return.
While United Cooperative's businesses performed very well in 2015, the cooperative knows that to be a valued partner for members, it must provide up-to-date facilities in strategic locations. In 2015, your cooperative acquired Ag Ventures, LLC, and Grain Ventures, LLC in Coleman, Shawano, and Oconto Falls. Acquired 4 locations from Archer Daniels Midland, ADM in Auroraville, Oshkosh, Ripon, and Westfield. Awarded $1,000 scholarships to 40 high school seniors. Donated $37,000 to food pantries in the United Cooperative Service Area. Ranked 29th on CropLife Magazine's Top 100 Agronomy Companies. Ranked 57th on USDA's Top 100 list of U.S. agricultural cooperatives. Began construction on state-of-the-art feed mills at Shawano and Wilton, and completed an agronomy facility at Hillsboro, and remodeled hardware store at Hillsboro. Began planning construction of grain facility at Westfield and fertilizer plant in Auroraville.
United Cooperative has expanded the number of students that receive scholarships through our program this year in 2016. This year, we're pleased to offer 45 $1,000 scholarships to our graduating high school seniors that are pursuing both agricultural and non-agricultural majors. As in the past, at least 7 of these scholarships will be awarded to students that are majoring in an agricultural field, and at least 3 will be awarded to students attending a short course or a technical school. The remainder are available to any major. United Cooperative asked Wisconsin Federated Youth Foundation to judge the scholarship applications and to select the winners. And these are based on the applicant's leadership skills, the scholastic achievement, extracurricular activities, motivation, and academic and personal goals.
United Cooperative's 80-year journey does not come without generations of members who value, use, and take pride in doing business with the cooperative. Thank you for your continued partnership and for your business. For more information, please visit unitedcooperative.com.